Planet of the Apes and Predator are some of the biggest and most influential science fiction franchises of all time. These IPs are nothing short of iconic, and with Prey 2 being in the works, and the newest installment of the Planet of the Apes franchise coming out today, why not mush them together? The Predator/Yautja is no stranger to Earth, but what if instead of dealing with the usual game being humans, the Predator finds himself hunting a planet of apes? Would it be a minor inconvenience, or will he find out that these guys aren't as predictable as humans? Apes strung together after all. And speaking of that, I will be using the group of apes from the newer trilogy, so specifically how the group is portrayed to be during the events of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. And keeping with this mindset, the predator I'll be using is the more primitive predator from Prey. Seeing as his hunting ground was also the woods of North America, I think it's pretty fitting. But first, I want to go out of my way and thank you guys for the support on this channel. This obviously is a more out there matchup, so if you guys like any of these IPs, it's important to let me know. And the best way to do this is by dropping some comments. Just give me some feedback. And if you don't want to do that, this week's like goal is 1,200 likes. Obviously, I'm just kind of throwing things at the wall with this topic, but I think it's a fun one. And hey, if you like it, be sure to let me know. But with that PSA out the way, let's get right into this matchup. Alright, so obviously Planet of the Apes scaling is pretty out there because they're just monkeys, but I think I will spend this part of the video just kind of running down their basic statistics, you know, the species of apes that make up each tribe, as well as just showing capabilities to get a basic rundown of how these guys would act if this would ever happen. Alright, so Caesar's kingdom is obviously made up of apes, but we have 4 distinct species to cover. So yeah, these 4 groups are consisted of chimpanzees, orangutans, bonobos, and gorillas. Chimpanzees and bonobos are pretty much cousins of the same species. So I'm going to be talking about chimpanzees, and then you can just assume this all scales to bonobos as well. Though it's commonly accepted that chimps on average are actually more aggressive. Pretty ironic considering the series has multiple bonobo villains at this point, with even the newest film having Proxima Caesar, who seems to be a bonobo as well. But anyways, back in the day, chimps were thought to be 5 to 8 times stronger than the average human. A pretty ridiculous notion, but it's common knowledge now that the gap is closer to around 1.5 times stronger than humans. But don't let that disregard you from the fact that these guys are almost pure muscle, with there being multiple cases of chimpanzees horribly disfiguring human beings. Even in the wild, these guys know to be able to break the necks of leopards, though usually they have to get in groups in order for this to happen. The same source also states that leopards don't hunt chimpanzees because of this very reason. They come in groups and they're too strong together, with even apparently large leopards falling victims to these guys as well. Though I want to note that chimpanzees don't really punch. I mean, they can, but their strength is better utilized when they tear and pull things, as they can pull on average 1.5 times harder than you and I. Alright, but moving on to the bigger primates now, we have orangutans, which are stronger than chimps and are commonly agreed upon to be 4 times stronger than humans. But I have seen studies that claim the gap is closer to around 5 to 7 times stronger. Orangutans are generally pretty chill towards humans, and it's for that very reason we don't have too many accounts of them like ripping people's faces off. So the best instance I could find relating to one of these guys is largely about durability, as apparently it took 130 shots from an air rifle to put one down. Though it should be noted that air rifles are kind of used for smaller game like squirrels and rabbits, but still, that's a lot of bullets. And finally, moving on to the big boys being gorillas, who are unsurprisingly the strongest of the apes in Caesar's kingdom, with adult silverback gorillas being powerful enough to uproot banana trees and even tear off human heads and limbs almost effortlessly as well. And it's also been commonly asserted by most experts that these guys are at least 4 times stronger than humans, but it's more than likely around 9 to 10 times stronger than humans. As for their speed now, these guys would fall around superhuman speed, as chimps and bonobos and gorillas can run up to 25 miles per hour, with orangutans, despite their very sluggish walk, being apparently able to run 40 miles an hour. Though I must assume that it's in short bursts because that just sounds ridiculous. But keep in mind, that's a baseline for all these guys. So let's move on to the stuff from the actual films. And yeah, it's actually consistent with what we just said, as these guys are consistently shown to always effortlessly, casually kill and ragdoll human beings. And look, Caesar can throw punches. That's pretty cool. I can only assume this is due to their heightened intelligence. You know, they're just throwing punches now. But hey, that's pretty cool. But yeah, due to exposure from the ALZ-113 virus, these guys are really smart, with some advances including mass cooperation. Keep in mind that IRL apes are already pretty social beasts for the most part, but these guys can arrange coordinated hunting parties, ambushes, and utilize a number of tools such as slingshots, bolas, or bolasses, which are used to topple entire deers, by the way. But moving into some more weapons, they have bows and arrows, which I think it's fair enough to assume are used for hunting and ranged combat. And apparently these guys have smoke bombs, though I can't find the scene that this respect thread is referring to, but yeah, apparently they have smoke bombs. But most importantly, these guys have a variety of spears and clubs, pretty primitive trinkets for the most part, but when used in combination with their already great strength, they can kill things such as bears and even tigers single-handedly. And these guys have also found out how to domesticate horses, which they use primarily for travel, but it seems in combat situations they can be used for war, as seen during Caesar's warning to the humans, and most notably during Koba's assault on humanity. But moving back to their IQ and coordination, and yes, while all the apes are very intelligent, the real standout in this category has to be Caesar. On multiple occasions, he's been shown to be a great leader. As for starters, as previously mentioned, he can coordinate efficient hunting parties, but for some big brain stuff now, during the events of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, he was able to successfully lead an ape uprising and win a battle against the California Highway Patrol and SWAT teams. During the battle, Caesar showed great cunning and adaptability, as he was able to play into the ape's strengths and coordinate an ambush on a bunch of humans who were, by all accounts, on their own home court. But the most impressive thing that Caesar has done, and it's also one of the most underrated things because it's off screen for the most part, comes from the fact that he was able to create a command base to evade human detection for years, to the point where members of the Alpha Omega military faction thought he was dead. And from said command center, he was able to hold off these guys for years, with even the colonel calling Caesar smart as hell. So obviously, individually, these guys aren't anything too special, but with the right minds at the center of the operation, these guys are truly capable of great things. The feral predator from Prey is a little bit different from the average predator, but for the most part, he should scale to any other physical feats performed by any other members of his race. But I want to take the time to talk about his status, as it finds itself to be a big source of contention in the predator community, with the debate essentially boiling down to if this guy is blooded or not. For those of you guys who need context, blooded is a rank in the predator society, which means that he has been able to kill a xenomorph by himself, and he can go on hunts unsupervised. Because as a matter of fact, I'm of the opinion that this guy is not blooded, and I have a number of reasons as to why I think this. As for starters, in character, he's pretty reckless, opting to literally box his prey 1v1, a stark contrast from the usual patient and stealthy way that we see most predators hunt. I also want to note that I'm not saying that he's inexperienced, as I think this 1v1 let's box behavior kind of just shows me a lot of his ego. Like, he knows what he's doing is not convenient, but he's just doing it because he feels like he's him. Another piece of evidence as to why I don't think this guy is blooded is the fact that he doesn't have a plasma caster, a weapon that predators earn after achieving the blooded status. The fact that he doesn't have one is a pretty big piece of evidence that he is in fact unblooded. Now, I've heard the excuse that predators may have not had plasma casters during the time period in which this film takes place, but unfortunately during the events of Alien vs. Predator, in a flashback, it was shown pretty explicitly that predators have had plasma casters for thousands of years. And if you don't want to say that AVP is canon, then what's the point of talking about blood status, as that's a concept that originated from those films specifically. But another reason as to why I don't think he's blooded is that I think he was supervised during this mission, as during the post-credit scene right after his death, it's heavily implied that another predator is on the way. Due to the predator coming so quickly after the other one's death, I think it's safe to say that they knew what was going on. So those are the reasons why I don't think this guy is blooded. But I don't think predator status really kind of indicates strength in predator society. It's more or less just a showcase of skill and expertise. Because as far as it comes to strength, this guy is really strong, as his main feat from this film is wrestling a freaking bear and even seemingly killing it, or at least knocking it out in a single blow, which right off the bat would give him wall level AP and durability, as he was able to shrug off a bear literally mauling him and was, oh yeah, able to wrestle with the thing. To put this feat into perspective, a bear's teeth is sharp and has a bite force of around 1200 psi, with their bite being powerful enough to crush a human skull. And these guys weigh 400 to 1200 pounds, and the feral predator pulls an Undertaker and was able to choke slam the freaking thing. Also, he's very durable, as he can shrug off multiple bullets and critical blows without any real signs of fatigue. So yeah, he's strong. Despite his low rank in predator society, he's still a very much capable fighter, as he was showcased to be able to fight off multiple groups of men, as showcased when he had to fight the French gang and take out multiple natives at once. Though he's not impossible to tag, as mostly a result of his reckless nature, he leaves himself open to a lot of attacks. Like, he steps into a bear trap, and he was arguably getting pressed by Naru's brother, and he was impaled, where he had to arguably abandon his code in order to just survive. As after sustaining this injury, he resorted to cloaking and getting behind the brother in order to kill him. A pretty dishonorable act, considering we've seen predators uncloak themselves when people have made it apparent they just want to box with them. Or if they are to be cloaked, they make their presence known at least. But yeah, his reckless and eager nature can lead him into such predicaments, which was the case of his ultimate downfall. The feral predator also has a number of tools in his arsenal. He has his bone mask, which like all predators can enable him to see his prey by tracking their body's heat. From this helmet, he's able to utilize a bolt gun. As previously mentioned, he doesn't have a plasma caster, but don't sleep on this weapon's attack potency, as the weapon seems to be a one-shot's difference stronger than his own durability, as this guy gets shot and stabbed multiple times throughout the film, but whatever this thing is made of just kills him instantly. He also has the standard wrist blades and ability to cloak, but I want to reiterate, he cloaks. He does not turn invisible. It's still possible to see him. Even children have been able to see the predator if they look hard enough. But for more original things, he has a wrist shield, which just by getting deployed can slice clean through trees and human heads. He also has the predator net, which can tighten around its victims, with this one in particular being so powerful that it was able to pulverize a decent chunk of a log. I don't really have the calculations for these feats at the moment, but I asked one of my friends to calculate it for me, so expect a cut from future me when I get those calculations. But he also has proximity mines, which can be deployed in groups of 3. These discs have a countdown, and when it's completed, they will horn onto its targets. This weapon is especially useful when the predator finds itself fighting groups. So as pointed out, the feral predator is pretty reckless, but he's still an apex predator, and he still has the arsenal for most of the things that pull up on him. And as a matter of fact, the thing that killed him was his own hubris. So if the predator can lock in, will he be too strong for the apes, or will apes together prove to be stronger? Okay guys, so who wins? And well, I think the outcome of this matchup is pretty situational. The predator being able to choke slam bears and kill them with a single blow would mean that he would be able to kill even the strongest members of Caesar's kingdom, so like even the biggest gorillas. To give you guys an IRL perspective, gorillas lose to leopards and bears can beat tigers, so there's levels, and the predator scales to the higher echelons of said levels. But obviously, this isn't a single fight situation, as this matchup is ultimately going to come down to skill, arsenal, and the capabilities of the apes. And honestly, I think more times than not, they would be able to pull out a win. And yes, it's largely due to Caesar, as he has shown multiple times that he can coordinate competent hunting parties and even ambushes in the woods. And yeah, I know, the predator can cloak and has tons of weapons that can kill even the strongest apes, from his tree-splitting shield, which has been calculated to be around wall level, and his net that can pulverize bark. This is certainly going to be a matchup that would have its casualties. But I see the feral predator more times than not making his presence relatively known pretty early into his hunt, due to his style of hunting. You know, he prefers to actually fight his enemies physically to some level and right in front of them as well. So yeah, maybe if this was Wolf or the Jungle Hunter, you know, you could say that he would pick the apes off one by one, or at least enough of them for them to like not even try. But the feral predator putting himself in such a dumb spot is not going to help his case at all here. Like, the feral predator put himself right in the middle of a human ambush, and he was even dropped by a net. You know, obviously he was able to overpower it due to his sheer strength, but let's say that he gets dropped on with a net by these guys, and instead of 4 or 5 humans, it's 4 or 5 silverback gorillas, and like 20 orangutans and 20 chimps and bonobos helping him out. You know, I just see himself putting himself in a bad spot, and with the quantity of these guys, as well as the weaker members of this kingdom being 2 times stronger than humans, that can prove to be quite costly for the feral predator. The ape spears have also shown the ability to kill animals that showed relativity to the predator, and with all these numbers, that might be a GG unironically. I just see these guys playing into the feral's eagerness to kind of get him off guard. Obviously, it would take a lot of prep, but with the amount of numbers and the fact that the predator would have to be in an environment that the apes have mastered over the course of 10 years, as well as Caesar's shown leadership skills, as he's literally been able to play off of his enemy's shortcomings and coordinate attacks and ambushes in real time in order to play into his people's strengths, as well as the fact that he was able to hold off military factions for 2 years. So compare all of that to a pretty dumb kid for the most part. I know there's a lot of Prey fans that think that he's like this, you know, John Wick, but he's really not, man. He's really just not. Blood lost to a single native woman, right? And yeah, she used the environment to her advantage, but there were multiple points during that confrontation where she had to fight or grapple with the predator to a competent level. You know, I think the apes could easily replicate something like that. I think the predator's only win con would be to kill Caesar, because that would make these guys pretty much uncoordinated and panicking animals. But I don't even see that happening. As well, yeah, Caesar has shown that he fights with his people. He's usually in the middle or the backer part of the pack, telling everyone where to go. And even during the events of war, he has shown that he's no stranger just hiding out. Not to say that he's a coward, but Caesar is aware of his value in, you know, wars like this. You know, if Caesar goes down, it's a GG, and he knows that. He's not like Koba, who's gonna just run up to the predator and start, you know, trying to, you know, he's not gonna do nothing dumb like that. So despite the feral predator being much stronger than any one ape, the apes overall proved that their strength largely came from numbers and IQ as well as preparation. So that's who I got winning this matchup. But what do you guys think? Do you think that I'm tripping and I lowballed the feral predator for whatever reason? Or was this outcome about what you expected? Be sure to let me know in the comments. This format of content is usually different than the power scaling stuff that I do. It's usually like a he blitzes one shots type. This content is more analytical in the sense that I'm kind of power scaling still, but I'm just analyzing the capabilities and skills of these guys because that's what it's going to come down to. I used to do a lot of posts like this back on my Instagram, and I used to have a lot of fun making those type of things. So if you want to see some more content like this on my YouTube channel, be sure to let me know. Drop your situations in the comments. And for those of you guys who stuck to the end of this video, the comment of the week will be ape. For pretty self-explanatory reasons. It lets me know that you guys are real ones and you're interested to see more content like this in the future. But as always, I'll see you guys next week. But until then, stay Big G fans.